The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As you know, I'm very happy to represent the people of Labrador. I'm very proud of the riding that I get to have a voice for in the House of Commons. Every weekend, when the House is sitting, of course, I travel back to my riding, and it's very large geographic region, 295,000 square kilometers, which is kind of hard to imagine. So getting around a riding is no small task on a weekend. But I can tell you one thing, that no matter where you go within the riding, people will tell you that they're seeing the improvements that they have not seen for a very long time. And those improvements are not just in their communities, but they're in their families, they're in their regions that they're a part of. And those changes are helping build and strengthen the communities in rural, remote, northern regions across Canada. And my area just happens to be one of those regions. For example, Madam Speaker, when I look at the budget 2017, the things that really pop out for me are things that directly affect ordinary Canadians, ordinary citizens in this country that have long awaited for programs and investment. And I want to talk about a few of those things today, because when you look at what 2017's budget is doing around the National Housing Strategy, which is investing more than $11 billion in a range of initiatives that are designed to help build, renew, and repair Canada's affordable housing and meet the needs that have been inadequate for many and unaffordable for many Canadians for a long time. This is being done simply because Canadians have been asking for it. And I asked members in the House why they would not support this initiative when for years and years and years, those in the country who have needed affordable housing, accessible housing, both in our cities and in rural areas, both on reserve and off reserve throughout Canada, and have not been able to get those investments that they wanted. Why you would want to vote against that today? They have been waiting for a very long time. I know in my own riding, last year we invested in housing for Inuit-specific housing in the northern region. It was the first time ever in the history that any government recognized the real need for Inuit housing across the north and invested in those communities and ensured that the investment went to the Inuit housing corporations so they could manage their own affairs, as was the case in my riding with Nunatsiavut government. That's the kind of innovative new ways that the government is doing things. The other thing we did in this budget that many have been asking for a long time is we've been able to extend employment insurance benefits for caregivers to allow for a caregiver benefit. It will make many caregivers eligible for up to 15 weeks of employment insurance when they have to take temporary time away from work to care for critically ill or injured family members. That is so important, and I remember the time I had a lady from my riding come to me because her child was sick, and her child had to go out to St. John's for the hospital from Labrador. She had to leave her job, a job that didn't offer her medical benefits, a job in which she had no income once she left, but she needed to be with her child while her child was sick for that 10 to 12 weeks. And there was no income program for her. This will allow parents who have sick children that they need to leave their jobs without any medical insurance or benefits or any other income, allows them to tap into the employment insurance program during that period. And that has been critical for many Canadians, and they have been asking for this. The other thing I want to talk about is medical care. Quite often in this House, issues around medical care are raised, but in particular, mental health services. Our government this year negotiated with all the provinces and territories to look at a new health accord that would include and give priority to mental health services and elderly care. Madam Speaker, as a result of that, the government is investing over $800 million in the next 5 years just to improve mental health services on First Nations and in Inuit communities. This is a new investment of money in communities in this country that need it the most. Why members would not support these investments for mental health services going into First Nations and Inuit communities in Canada that need it so desperately does not make any sense when they are the same people who every day stands in the House and says you should be investing more into mental health services in First Nations. Well, that's exactly what we are doing, and we're asking for the support of the House to make sure that those investments get to the people that need them the most. One of the other pieces I want to talk about is with regard to filling the employment gaps across the country. Through the federal government, we are able to provide for skilled training and advanced training, as well as on-the-job work initiatives for many Canadians that are trying to enter the job force, trying to find employment. And this year, we gave a very significant boost federal support to the provinces and territories by investing $2.7 billion over the next six years to help unemployed and underemployed Canadians to access training and employment opportunities so they can get a good job. When I look at my riding and I see major initiatives that are happening, like the Muskrat Falls Energy Development Project, like mining operations in Voisey's Bay and the expansion of Voisey's Bay, like the expansion of the Iron Ore Company of Canada in Labrador West, all of these companies need skilled individuals to work in their operations. In order for them to get those skills, the Government of Canada is saying to them, we are prepared to ensure that there are training dollars there that you can access, that we will help you find the employment that you need and ensure that you get the training and skills you need for those jobs. That is what we should be doing as a government. And because of that, I am hoping that people in ridings like mine will take advantage of these opportunities to get that training, to get the skills they need to have long-term sustainable employment in these resource sectors or in any sector that they might choose to engage in. One of the other programs that we've announced in this budget, and again, this is a program that Canadians have been asking for a long time. Their voices have been ignored to date because it is a difficult issue, but we have taken it on as a government. And this year, we propose to invest $6 billion over the next 10 years for Canadians to improve access to home, community, and palliative care services, as well as more support for informal caregivers. This means that more people in our country that want to stay at home and have that peace of being at home can get the care they need and the supports they need. It means that more families will have more support when it comes to having a family member that needs palliative care, that needs that kind of assistance. This government is understanding and listening to people in our country, to people in ridings like mine in Labrador when they make those kinds of investments. Madam Speaker, there are so many things that I could talk about today, and I know my time is limited, but I want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, our government invested in infrastructure projects across Canada. One of those projects was in my riding in Labrador, where we are completing the Trans-Labrador Highway. Last year, we partnered with the provincial government to invest over $60 million in the Trans-Labrador Highway, and we're going to continue with our commitment in that project. But we're also going to continue with our commitment to other infrastructure projects across Canada, including Labrador, like small craft and harbours, like women's shelters and centres, like cultural centres for people in communities, like clean water for communities that need it. And also, Madam Speaker, we're a government that is not only consulting with with people in this country. We're listening to Canadians. And when you look at the budget that lies before the House of Commons today, it's a budget that reflects the very needs of Canadians, from middle class, low class, and others across the country. It's meeting the needs of what we need to grow and be healthy and strong as a country.
Resuming,